Welcome, children. I am here with another grade 8 science lesson. Today we are going to discuss about human skin. It is the third part of human organ systems lesson. Let's start. Skin is the largest organ in human body. When we consider about the size of this skin, usually the mass of the skin of a well-grown man is about 4.5 kilograms. The thickness is around 1 millimeter to 2 millimeters. And the surface area is about 1.5 square meters to 2 square meters. It is an average value. Human skin consists with two layers. They are epidermis and dermis. From this diagram, you can easily see the layers of the skin, and there are some other organs inside this skin. Let's see what are these parts of the skin. The top layer of the skin is epidermis and the lower layer is dermis. You can see that the dermis is thicker than the epidermis. Under the dermis, there is another layer. It is a fat layer. However, almost all the parts of the skin are consist inside the dermis. Let's see what are these parts. There are hair reactor muscles. We call this as also arrector pili muscles. And also there are sebaceous glands, or we call them as oil glands. These oil glands are situated around the hair follicles. Then there are many blood vessels, blood capillaries, and also there are nerve ends. Here you can see another coiled tube-like organ. It is the sweat gland, and this sweat gland is open to the skin surface by pores. Now let's discuss about these skin layers one by one. First of all, I am going to explain about the epidermis. It is the outermost layer of our skin. It is made of few cell layers. The most outer cell layers consist with dead cells, and the lower cells are viable, or they are living cells. Epidermis is renewing every day. It heats the dead cell layers and replenish them daily. Lower cell layers generate new cells to complete those shedded cell layers again. In this diagram, you can see in this top part there are the dead cells, and these are the viable cells. In this basal cell layer, this is the margin of the epidermis and the dermis. And in this cell layer, you can see that there are specific type of cells which are larger than the other cells. And you can see that they have branched. These branched large cells are the melanin producing cells. We call these cells as melanocytes. What are the functions of this melanin? Why it is so important to us? Melanin is a pigment. This pigment gives the skin color or a skin complexion. Also, this melanin helps to protect the body from ultraviolet rays coming with the sunlight. In this lower diagram, you can observe how the epidermis can be observed by a microscope. So this is these pink color cell layers are the dead cells, and these purple ones are the viable cell layers, and this is the basal cell layer. There are the melanocytes. Okay, let's move to the dermis. It is the thickest skin layer of human skin, and as you saw before, all the important parts of the skin is contained inside this dermis. There are skin hairs, sebaceous glands, sweat glands, hair reactor muscles, blood capillaries, and nerve endings. This diagram shows how a sebaceous gland situated around a hair follicle. Sebaceous glands produce an oily substance called sebum. This sebum helps to maintain the moisture on the skin. Also, they prevent the dryness of skin hairs. This orange color material is the sebum. Sebaceous glands secretes sebum daily, mainly in night time. When we sleep, the sebum secretion is very it's happening very fastly. Okay, now you know the details about dermis and the epidermis. There is another layer called hypodermis, but it is not a part of the skin, but it is important. So we have to discuss about hypodermis too. Beneath the dermis, there is a fat layer. This fat layer, we call it as hypodermis. It acts as the lining between the skin and the other inner body organs. This diagram will explain that the position of the hypodermis. This is skin, and this is the fat layer called hypodermis, and there are muscles. So the importance of this fat layer is it contains around 50% of our body fat. And also this hypodermis is thicker in female bodies than the male bodies. It is the reason to have a very smooth skin in female bodies, but the men's skin is not that much smooth. and it increases the curviness of female body. Okay, so now we are going to discuss about the functions of our skin. Actually, we are going to discuss about 5 specific functions of our skin. From them, the first one is skin acts as a protective layer. Skin protects us from dehydration, from UV rays, and also from infectious diseases. Let's see how these functions are occurred. Okay, so first one is minimizing water loss or minimizing dehydration. The reason for this is skin prevent evaporation from our body. It prevent water loss throughout the skin, so that it stop dehydration and protect body moisture. Then prevention of harmful effect from UV rays. This is a very important function because it helps to prevent skin cancers. Let's see how this UV protection is happening. Look at this diagram. When the sunlight falls on our skin, it activates the melanin production from melanocytes. This melanin come to the top layers of the skin and make a dark spot. We call these dark spots as freckles. These dark spots act as a barrier between sunlight and the skin. Here. So, it reduces the effect of UV rays on the skin. That is why the people who are living in the countries near equator have got a dark skin. They get maximum amount of sunlight throughout the whole year. So, their skin can be damaged easily. By producing more melanin, they get a dark skin complexion for the protection of their skin. But the countries around polar regions or the tropic regions do not get that much of sunlight throughout the year. So those people, they don't need a dark skin complexion. They have a light skin color because their melanin amount is very low. But it is difficult to live them in a country around equator because their skin can be damaged easily because they don't have enough melanin for their protection. The third one is creating a barrier against microorganisms and the infections. Look at this. There are many types of microorganisms living around this environment. There are viruses, bacteria, fungi, and many more types of microorganisms. But they cannot go through the skin because skin is a barrier for them, so that they cannot enter to our body easily. It prevents the microbial infections to our body. On the other hand, here you can also see the first function we discussed, that prevention of dehydration. It is because these water molecules cannot go through the skin and evaporate, so that inside the moisture level is protecting by the skin. And you can see here another specific thing, it is toxins. There are many toxin types in our surrounding, like some gases, some dusts, like so they also cannot travel through the skin. Skin act as a barrier to the toxic materials also. So from them also we can have a protection because of the skin. So I think it is very clear about the protective function of our skin. Let's move to another function. It is regulation of body temperature. Regulation means maintaining a constant level. Okay. When the environmental temperature increase, it starts sweating. How it happening? When the environmental temperature increase, our blood vessels inside the skin expand. Expand mean they increase the size of the blood vessels, so that the blood supply also increase. Then the sweat glands activates and start sweating. This sweat should be evaporated by consuming the body heat, so that the body heat goes down. Because of this reason, when the environmental temperature goes increase, our body temperature do not goes up. It remains in a constant level. There are some other events which we are facing for sweating, like when we doing exercises, or if we are afraid on something. There are also in those events also the sweating starts, but it is not to control the to regulate the body temperature. It is another function. Okay, then let's see what will happen if the environmental temperature goes down or decrease. When that it happens the opposite function to the previous situation. When the environmental temperature decrease, the blood vessels compress, or the blood vessels become thin than their original size, so that the blood supply goes down or decrease. After that, the hair reactor muscles start to contraction. Because of that, the hairs start to stay erect. Their position change, so that it occurs the goosebumps. In this diagram, you can see how the goosebumps are occurred. When these goosebumps are occurred, you can see all the hairs are erect after the goosebumps appears. So it deposits a small air layer between the skin and the atmosphere, like this. This air layer acts as a barrier to flow body temperature out from the skin, and the coldness from outer environment do not go through this air layer. So it helps to maintain the body temperature in a constant level. Usually centigrades 37 degrees of centigrade is the average level of human body temperature. Okay, so this is another function of our skin. It is acting as a sensory organ. when we discuss about the parts of the skin, I think you have seen that there are nerves inside the skin. Actually, there are nerve endings in the dermis. These nerve endings can detect pressure, pain, touch, and the temperature differences. Temperature differences means heat and cold. All these sensors can be detected by our skin. Look at this. I told you there are nerve endings inside the dermis. So these nerve endings have different shapes. Look at this. There are round shaped nerve endings and disc-like ones, and some of them are like grape bunch. So different shapes. These different shapes of nerve endings detect different types of stimuli. Some of them are detect cold, some of them are detect heat, and some of them detect pressure, and some others detect touch. Like that, according to the shape of these nerve endings, their detecting sensors are different. Okay. Another important functions of the skin is synthesizing vitamin D. It means producing vitamin D in skin cells. But this function need the help of sunlight. When there is sunlight, it gives the energy to this process. But the best time to get the sunlight is before 7:30 a.m. because very light sunlight is the most important energy source of producing vitamin D on our skin. Very hard sunlight or very in the noon it is not suitable that sunlight. It can be give burnings to our skin, so it is better the morning sunlight for this function. What are the importance of this vitamin D? Why it is necessary to produce in our skin? There are many uses of vitamin D in human body. Let's see what are they. First one is growth of bones and mineralization. It means to grow the bones, vitamin D helps. The growth of the bones, it needs phosphorus and calcium. So, to mineralize these materials on the bones, it is regulated by vitamin D. Then the other one is regulation of immune function. It means it gives a protection to our body from external harmful factors like microbial functions. Also, it regulates the phosphorus and calcium homeostat. It means regulation of phosphorus and calcium levels in our body. Then regulation of insulin secretion. Insulin helps to maintain the blood sugar level. So, this is a very important function. And also, vitamin D regulates and control generating new cells and the specification of these cells into a certain function. So that vitamin D delays aging of human body. If you need to maintain a younger look, more and more years, you have to get more vitamin D. Also, D vitamin regulates the transportation of calcium inside muscles. It helps to increase the activation of our body muscles. So there are a lot of functions carried on by vitamin D. I think it is very clear to you. The last function we are going to discuss about the skin is excretion. If you can remember from the first part of this human organ systems lesson, we discussed about this excretion. Excretion means removing the excess and the unnecessary products inside our body because they are very toxic to us. So skin is also an excretory organ. Sweat is the form of excretion which is done by the skin. Sweat is produced inside the sweat glands. You can see here the appearance of a sweat gland. It is a coiled tube-like structure and it opens to the surface of the body. Through this tube, the sweat produced in the sweat gland come out of the skin. When we consider about the components of this sweat, we can see that there are urea, uric acid, salts and water. There is a very little amount of urea, but there are a huge percentage of salt. Especially there are ammonium salt in sweat. So skin helps to clean our body by excretion. So those are the functions carried out by our skin. So now you know what are the parts of the skin and how they function to protect our body and for some other functions. Let's see now what are the skin disorders. Our skin also can be damaged by some reasons. So we are going to discuss about these skin disorders. The first skin disease is Heterolysis. Heterolysis is occurred because of a fungal infection. When heterolysis appear, it is like a white pink patches spread all over the body. These patches can be grow day by day if we do not get suitable medical advices or suitable medicines. Then the second disease is warts. It is a type of viral infection. Usually there are light brown lumps, or there are many colors, black, white, or several colors. There can be several colors of warts. There are lumps that are flecked with small clotted blood vessels inside them. It means the blood supply inside a wart is very well. That is why if we remove a wart, the bleeding cannot stop easily. These are also can be cured by getting suitable medical advices. Then the third disease is a very common disease. It is acne. When hair follicles become plugged with oil and dead skin cells lately infected by microorganisms, it is appear acne. This oil is come from sebum, and when this sebum material and the dead cells are clogged inside our hair follicles and pores, it create microbial infection, so that the acne can occur. On the other hand, hormonal unbalances can also be effect on this disease. By cleaning the skin regularly and by getting suitable medicines, we can cure completely these acnes. The next disease is eczema. There are patches of the skin become inflamed, itchy, red, cracked, and rough, and color blisters on the skin. It can be affect many reasons to occur eczema, like allergies, microbial activities. These are actually very temporary disease. When we get enough medicine or when we clean them more, it is easily removed from our body. Next disease is psoriasis. Psoriasis. It is a long-lasting disease. It is occur due to an abnormal immune response within the skin cells. When there is a psoriasis on a patient, their skin cells multiply up to 10 times faster than a normal skin cell, so that it collect these removing skin cells on one another like scales. So it create a scaly look that cause raised red color scaly patches on the skin. So it is difficult to give a cure to this disease because it is a long lasting one. But if someone has psoriasis on his skin, he need to get medicine for a long time of period to totally stop this disease. Next disease is skin cancer. These are abnormal growths on skin cells. Mainly the reason to occur skin cancers is the ultraviolet ray action on our skin. So we should not face direct sunlight daily. If so, they have a high risk on appearing skin cancers. But when the skin color is dark of a person, the risk of occurring skin cancers on his skin is very low. Next one is rash. These are very common skin diseases. So many rashes are itchy, red, painful, swollen and irritated. Some rashes can also lead to blisters or patches of raw skin. So rashes are the symptoms of many different medical problems like allergies, or if some toxic materials insert to our body, like that, the rashes can be occur under many conditions. Next one is dry and scaly skin. The skin that feels and look rough and itchy, slightly to severe flakings, scaling or peelings. These are the symptoms of a dry and scaly skin. So their skin can be visible. There are visible lines or cracks within grey color and ash color on the top of the skin. In some people, there can be deep cracks like on heels, where the skin is thick, and there can be bleedings also. The main reason to have a dry skin is dehydration and malnutrition. So we can stop this disease by getting more water and getting enough amount of nutrition to our body. In some people, the number of sebaceous glands is low in some people, so that the sebum production is very low in some people. So there also they can have a dry and scaly skin because the skin moisture cannot maintain because the sebum amount is very lack. Next disease is vitiligo. Vitiligo, it is we can observe this in our society. It is occur by loss of skin color in only a few small areas. This happens when pigment producing cells or the melanocytes die or stopping producing melanin due to a disorder of the human immune system. Some chemicals can also affect to occur this disease. In this diagram, you can see how the vitiligo appears when it occurs. Next one is dandruff. It is also a very common disease, very common condition. It is caused by the dry skin, and the skin on the head, when it very dry and when it scaling, these flakes are remain around the hairs. Also, microbial actions can be affect on these by cleaning well. If you clean your hair well, the dandruff can be removed very easily. But it takes time to cure totally. But by cleaning well, you can remove the dandruff very well. So those are the diseases that affect on our skin. It is clear that there are microbial actions and some other immune actions. So how to protect our skin from these diseases? Or how to protect our skin healthy? So there are some measures we have to follow. Let's see what are these measures. The first very important thing is getting a nutritional diet daily. Our diet should be included vitamin A and E. It is a must. And we can gain these vitamin A and E by consuming fresh fruits, leaves and vegetables. And also we have to drink adequate amount of water daily. It should be drink around 3 liters of water by a person daily. Otherwise our skin can be very dry. The other one thing is Be gentle. Skin should not rub with hard materials like stones and rough loofah, like such things. And we should not use harsh chemical products on our skin too. To be gentle, we have to use a mild soap to protect the natural oil on the skin, and we have to blot our skin with a gentle towel, and our clothes also should be very gentle to our skin. And we should not wash our body daily with hot water, because it can wash off all the oil on the skin, and it cause dry skin. Next one is protect from sunlight. If we have to go into the sun, so we have to wear cotton clothes to cover the skin, and also we can use a dark color umbrella or a hat to prevent sunlight falling on the skin. And on the other hand, we can use a suitable sunscreen lotion. But when we are selecting a sunscreen lotion, we have to be more careful to use a well-known and a reputed product, because these lotions can also be harmful if there are harmful ingredients in it. So we have to be careful when selecting a sunscreen lotion. Next one is personal hygiene. This is very important to prevent skin diseases. We should not exchange dresses with others. If so, the infections can be easily come to our skin very often. Then having a bath daily. We have to stay clean to protect our skin. And we should wash our towels and our clothes regularly to clean them. It also helps to maintain the cleanliness of our skin. Next one is avoiding smoking and alcohol. These smoking and alcohol reduce blood circulation, because they cause to thin our blood vessels inside the dermis, so that the blood supply become decrease when we smoking and using alcohol, so that the skin cells do not get enough nutrients and enough oxygen. Therefore, the skin loses the elasticity and develop wrinkles. So, if someone is smoking or taking alcohol, his skin become aging faster than a normal person. So, if you want to look younger for a long time, you have to avoid smoking and alcohol. The last thing is health care. When we have a skin disease, we have to get suitable medical advices for these disorders. We can get these medical advices from dermatologists. They are the specialists who are treating for the skin diseases. And maintaining a good mental health is also very helpful to maintain a healthy skin. On the other hand, doing physical exercises well. When we are doing physical exercises, it regulates sweating. When producing sweat, it removes all the unnecessary toxic products from our body, so that skin appears as a healthy organ. So, I think you learned many things about our skin, human skin, and so now this lesson is over. I hope you could gain a good knowledge about human skin. So I'll see you soon with another lesson, and wait for it until I'm coming back. So thank you for staying with us and have a nice day.